Hello and welcome to the Mums Mean Business online event. This is brought to you by Business Crowd and I'm Morrision, founder of the Game Changer Consultancy. We've got some fantastic mums in business to be interviewed today as part of the panel on what success means. So we have with us Gemma, the founder of JournoLink, Susan Payton from the Business of Mums, and Pippa from Story of Mum, and they're joined by Pickering, the co-founder of Business Crowd. So welcome everybody, and so if we can just begin, Pippa, if I could just ask you, in business and in your journey as a mother running a business, how have you found that your definition of success, firstly, what is it and how has it changed for you?
Hi, Lol. Well, I think it's changed dramatically in motherhood. I would say that before motherhood, how I perceived success was really all about kind of external affirmation, achieving targets, being nominated for awards, working all hours really, and demonstrating that I was probably the hardest working person on the planet, at least to myself. But in motherhood, that changed a lot, and I think it's really shifted from being about looking for those kind of external definitions of success to really looking for the answers inside myself, so shifting to a much more internal sense of success. And a few years ago, you might be familiar with the work of Danielle Laporte, but I read her book where she talks about core desired feelings, about how it is that you really want to feel in your life. And I spent some time thinking about that and came up with the core feelings that I wanted. And now they're really what I use to measure whether I've had a successful day or not. It's, have I felt those core feelings that I really wanted to feel? Because if I have, that's been successful. Obviously, I still want to achieve success in my business, and they're all linked. Success in my home life and success in my business. It's really a kind of much more holistic definition of success. But the four feelings that I discovered I really need to feel happy, to feel successful, were a sense of vitality, of really being alive and present in the moment, a sense of purpose. So really with the work that I'm doing, to know that there's a meaning behind it, that I'm really doing what I feel like I'm meant to do. A sense of generosity. So I think that's particularly important to me in my work because I'm building a social enterprise, which is really about supporting those in need as much as it is about creating a business structure that works for that. And then a sense of worthfulness, which I think is in a way kind of a made-up word because I prefer it to worthiness, which has some different kind of connotations. But worthfulness is really about feeling that I am valued and the skills that I have to offer the world are being used in an effective way. So that applies in my home life when I'm off and having adventures with the kids, and in my working life when I'm deciding how it is I want to spend my time on a daily basis.
And that's very interesting because these are all concepts that are not, I guess, tangibly measurable. They're more based on intangibles, on feelings. How do you check in with yourself to see if success is what you are achieving by those standards?
Well, I literally do just ask myself the question. I just notice, and quite often it will be if I'm feeling dissatisfied or if I'm feeling that kind of inner self-critic jumping in and telling me I'm not doing enough or I haven't delivered enough, I'll just check in and think, okay, let's just go back to those feelings. Have I felt that today? And quite often when I'm having a day when I haven't felt like I've been particularly productive or successful, it's because I haven't felt those. I haven't checked in and had time to really think, okay, so I've got to do accounts today. What can I do that's going to make me feel a sense of vitality while I'm doing the accounts? Which might sound like a crazy question, but it's as much about thinking, okay, I'm going to put some really nice music on while I do my accounts, and that's going to give me a sense of energy, or I'm going to make sure I go outside to have my lunch today. Or it might be that, okay, on today, what I've scheduled for my whole day is just firefighting emails and writing my business plan. Neither of those things I particularly enjoy. So if I'm going to do that, I need to make sure that I also have some sort of surprise random acts of kindness that I'm going to do with the kids later that day. And then at the end of the day, I'll always check in with myself at the end of the day. I quite often keep a little mini journal where I just will focus on a particular feeling that I want to have. And at the end of the day, I'll just check in and write down 3 moments when I felt that. And if I'm having a couple of days in a row where I'm finding it really hard to notice that feeling in the day, then I'll know that I'm not on track for success, I guess. So at the moment, I've got 2 little mini journals running, and one of them is about joy and just making sure I'm finding those moments of joyful vitality in the day, and I'll write those down. And the other one is about rest, because I find that's always a really big challenge for me as a working mum, having been someone who is very much defined by their work before motherhood and felt that I'd lost my identity afterwards. I still have a tendency to overwork or to do too much. So really reminding myself constantly to take some time out for myself instead of just getting on to the next task at home or the next task on my work to-do list is really important. So that at the moment I'll be reminding myself and checking in at the end of every day.
Thank you, Pippa. That all sounds beautifully balanced. Susan, if I could just come to you next and again put the same question. How has your definition of success changed for you since becoming a mother?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic, lovely. Well, actually, I've been a mother since I was very young. I've been a mother since I was in my early 20s. So I've always, ever since I started working for myself, I've been a mother. So it took me a long time, actually, to find what worked for me. I did lots of things wrong. I made myself very ill in the process. I just was working all hours. I took on way too much. I was trying to be perfect. I was trying to be a perfect mum. I was trying to run several businesses, and I was doing it all on my own. I didn't ask anybody for help. I thought I was some sort of superwoman and that I could do it all myself. And actually, I ended up on a heap on the floor and couldn't do anything and wasn't any use to anybody. So obviously, I had to make huge changes in my life. Not only did I spend quite a few years trying to get my health back on track and work out what had happened and how I could put it right, but also a lot of stuff had to shift for me. And it's really interesting listening to Pippa, because it's the same for me. You know, the minute anybody asks me what success is about, it's all to do with how I'm feeling. You know, am I being present? Am I enjoying the moment? Am I happy? Do I have a balance that works for me? It's different, but a balance that works for me is that I have some time that I can focus on my business. I have time with my family, and I have time for myself. And if I can get all of those things right, then I know that I can kind of perform, you know, at my best, and I feel good. Looking after myself is really important now. Making my own health and well-being is a priority. And in doing that, in making my own health and well-being a priority, I also feel that I'm passing those values on to my children, that my children are learning that it's important to look after yourself, and that as they grow up, you know, they'll grow up knowing that they're worth looking after, and that, you know, so I'm trying to be a good role model in that way. But it is very much, you know, like Pippa, for me, it's very much about if my life's in balance, if I'm feeling good, if my energy is good. And also I know the warning signs. I know to look out for if I'm starting to feel anxious, if my energy is not good, if I'm starting to feel you know, if I'm starting to criticize myself or compare myself to other people, or any of those things that we do, if I start trying to be a perfectionist again about stuff, then I notice that I'm doing that, and I step back, and, you know, I just remind myself about what's important and my values and what really, really matters, and align myself with that.
And was there one pivotal moment that made you do that? Because I think, having been there myself, reaching that point where you absolutely hit burnout, you're giving everything to everybody. You know, that for me was the thing that really was the tipping point that made me a very passionate advocate for, yes, we can be great in business and we can be as competent as we like, but without the foundations of our health and well-being underpinning that. And actually, as a mum, occasionally, in quotes, being selfish and taking that time out for ourselves, you know, I think it's important that we do share this so that other mothers do recognise those signs and avoid falling into that trap. So was that really the thing that pivoted things for you, or had you been striving to move to that better balance before the pinch point came, Susan?
I think that when I was much younger and I was a single mum, and you know, I was just so determined that we'd have a great lifestyle. I was a single mum to my eldest, who's now 23. I wanted to stay in the house that we'd been living in, so I bought her father out, and I just wanted us to maintain that lifestyle, you know, and I just worked myself into the ground, and the thing is, I felt guilty all the time as well, because I felt guilty that if I didn't feel I was spending enough time with my child. I felt guilty if I wasn't working, that, you know, that I should be doing stuff, and I just ran on adrenaline for years and years and years. And I knew it wasn't healthy. I knew it wasn't great, but the perfectionist in me just kept, you know, just kept me going, and I took on more, and I'd be the mum down at the school helping to organise the summer fair and on the PTA, and I just didn't seem to have an off switch. I just thought I was invincible, and I just kept going, and I kept working flat out. And it really wasn't until I got ill, and you know, really at one point I actually struggled to walk up a flight of stairs. I would sleep for 13 hours at night and wake up in the morning and just lie in my bed crying because I didn't have the energy to get out of the bed. It was horrible. It was so debilitating. I ended up having to give up most of my clients, give up most of my work, and so the next few years were really just about getting my life back on track and getting my health back. So it was a major turning point for me, and it was kind of inevitable. I mean, you just can't keep going. You can't sustain that, and you can't keep working those hours and putting everybody else first, and not taking any time out. And you said something there about, you know, feeling that it's selfish, but I don't see it like that at all. I see it that it's absolutely critical. You know, you have to put your own life jacket on first, or else you're never going to be able to help anybody else. So you have to look after yourself first. Are you still there?
Yes, yeah.
Sorry, it just went very steady in my ear. You have to look after yourself first. And you know, like I said earlier, I just feel like also by doing that we're showing our children and other people that that's okay. It's okay to look after yourself first. It's so important. I mean, it's just my mantra now, you know, that and everybody I work with and come across and connect with through our Facebook group and everything else, that's always the theme that I'm kind of running under everything else is, you know, don't try and be perfect. You know, that's stressful, it's destructive, it leads to disappointment because we're not perfect. So it's okay to just do your best. That's good enough. Be kind to yourself, look after yourself. Don't say anything to yourself that you wouldn't say to your children or a loved one. You know, treat yourself with the same love and respect that you give everybody else. And, you know, if you are juggling tons of balls, then have a look at them and just, is there a couple that you could put down? Are you somebody that just never says no to anything? You know, maybe you just need to cut yourself a bit of slack, pick the things that are really, really important and that you need to focus on, and just put your energy there and look after yourself. And you know, just get the balance that's right for you and that feels good, and your energy feels good, and you feel happy at the end of the day, and that you're looking after yourself, and that you're, you know, the stuff that's important to you, that's where you're putting your focus.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And that one about unlearning perfectionism is a really, really big and tough one to crack.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, do you feel now with the new business since then that's built on much more solid foundations for you now?
Yeah, absolutely. I took a long time to kind of work out what I wanted my business to look like and how I wanted it to work for me and how I wanted it to work in terms of my lifestyle. And, you know, there is this kind of old traditional view of, you know, your businessman in your suit and working all hours and hardly ever sees his children and gets home after they've gone to bed and everything. But, you know, that's not for me, and there's thousands and thousands of mums out there and it's not for them either. And I just kind of am trying to show people that it is possible. It is possible to find something that you love, find something that satisfies you and that, you know, is in line with your values and what's important to you. And it is possible to make that work, to fit that in with your family, as long as you keep checking in, you know, as long as you keep checking in and making sure that you are looking after yourself, you know, you are being present, you're enjoying what you're focused on at the moment. You know, a big part of kind of perfectionism when you're a perfectionist is that it's never good enough. So you're always focusing on what should I have done better, what could I have done, you know, what do I need to do better next time. And you know, of course we want to do our best, but it's deciding at what point that's enough, that's good enough, you know. And it was such a big thing for me to let that go. In fact, I've just put a talk together now that I'm going to start doing that's called How to Be Less Than Perfect and More Than Enough.
Oh, I love that title. Thank you, Susan. Gemma, if we could just come to you, your circumstance is slightly different to the other ladies that we've heard from. So for you, on becoming a mother, how has that changed how you evaluate success?
As you say, I'm very different to the other two. I'm only literally new into motherhood. My little boy is only 3 months, and I returned to work after 3 weeks. It's really interesting actually listening to the other two, because I'm going through all of those feelings that they had at the beginning. Things like, you know, feeling guilty, trying to be perfect, trying to do everything, juggle the house, juggle the baby, juggle the work. It's, you know, and there is this massive, I think it's pressure that I think you put on yourself to do everything. And I think it does get to a point where you just think, whoa, I need to stop, because I can't do everything and I am just going to fall over if I don't. And I think the way that I measure success at the moment is just kind of bite-sized goals, little things like, can I get through this webinar, for example, without my little boy waking up and screaming? For me, if I can do that, then that's a tick in my box and I can give myself a tick on the back. And it is just about waking up in the morning for me and thinking, okay, what can I achieve today that's realistic in home and in work? And I think if I can get a really good balance with my work, or my work-life balance, and actually be able to spend good quality time with my little boy and to get the work I need done, I think if I can do that, then that for me is success. Give myself you know, some more time, couple more months, and I might reassess that again. But at the moment, I think as a new mum, you do have to just set those bite-sized goals really and just attempt them day by day.
Absolutely. Small goals and bite-sized goals, and being really, really focused in those almost micro periods of time that you have, particularly when you've got a younger baby. Having been there myself and being back in that situation at the moment is so incredibly important. And how do you think it's going to shift the plans that you have for the business moving forward, Gemma?
Well, I think I've learned after having my little boy is that you have to ask for help and you have to rely on other people. I always thought that I could do everything, and you know, the whole world would fall apart if I took a step back. And having a baby, you'll all know you have to take a step back. You have to, you know, physically and mentally recharge your batteries, even if it is just for a few weeks. And in that time, you do suddenly realise that, you know, there are other people that can do things, and there are other people that can, you know, do things better than you. So you have to learn to delegate, again, home and in work. I've relied heavily on my husband, and he's been fantastic. He's done things that I never thought he'd be able to do, you know, cook great meals and get the washing and ironing done on time. And, you know, you can rely on other people. And in work especially, I've got an amazing team that, you know, I rely on really, really heavily, and they all produce fantastic work, and they keep the business ticking. So I think as time goes by, the team is going to get bigger, stronger, and just to help the company grow to where it needs to get to. So I think, yeah, relying on other people, I think is a really big thing.
I think it is, and also creating that space to enable people to step forward, as you say, whether it's in the fatherhood or a co-parenting role, or whether it's within your business team. Actually, people can't prove what they're capable of if you don't actually give them the opportunity to show you.
Exactly. No, you're right. And I never did that. Beforehand, I thought, you know, I'm the only one that can do this meeting. I'm the only one that can see this person, and I'm the only person that can get the washing done in time. And really just step back and let other people prove to you what they can do. And, you know, you can build relationships that way as well, and I think make your business stronger.
Okay, I'm just very conscious. We've also got Jay on the panel. Jay, what are your thoughts on this? Are there any questions or any things that have sparked a curiosity for you for our panel?
I'd like just to say thank you very much to everyone who's getting involved in Mums Mean Business. For me, it's been really interesting to listen to everyone throughout the week, and I know we're only just at the beginning of the week at the moment, but on points of success, you know, Pippa and Susan and Gemma, you all made really good points about balance, and that's been really key into what we've seen as well, meaning that the actual change in the definition of successful people nowadays is changing from what people kind of been told to think and what people are trying to find out for themselves. So in that, I mean, you know, before you've started a business, before you've obviously become parents, you probably, I don't know, had a different view of what success was. And I think a lot of people have the same view, which is based around a monetary value, or, you know, comparing yourself to other people. He's got this, she's got that. You know, and then when you actually focus down and start doing a business or becoming a parent, you actually see that definition change into something more along the lines of balance, and that's what we're really interested in about, which is, for me, I think it's about a continual progression of just balance. So whether that's in health or whether that's in business, it's just trying to be as balanced as you can. You know, we've all kind of been at the beginning stage of business where we've been so excited to set and you know, you've got so many ideas going on, you want to do it all by yourself, you kind of want to be the main feature, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs have that same issue as well, where they want to do it all themselves, but they don't really realize how much support networks are actually out there, and they don't actually realize that, you know, once you sort of de-stress and let all that go, and start, you know, putting in places and structures. You know, we had talks about, you know, timelines and getting your clients knowing when you're working, when you're not working. You know, all that stuff is really important for measuring success, because, again, you know, you're not going to feel successful if you're burning out. And what Pippa said beforehand about actually feeling the moment, I think it's a combination of feeling in the moment and reflecting on what you've actually done. So, you know, now we're kind of looking back and reflecting on, oh, you know, I was burning out previously. It's not until you do that you can actually measure, all right, I wasn't really successful then, but I'm more successful now.
I think that's a great point, Jay. I think it's about measuring on outcomes in your business, And is what you're doing effective for your business and effective for your happiness, for your employees' happiness? And I think some of what you've touched on there, which overlaps with some of what Pippa was saying, is almost going into the areas of mindfulness, which we're now seeing becoming increasingly popular as a go-to tool for entrepreneurial people. So Pippa, if we could just come back to you, in terms of actually looking at the business and the aspects of that and what is going to move you forward, how do you find that your changing definition of success also changes your employees and how you measure and monitor what's going on in your business?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, in terms of my business, it's a social enterprise, which obviously still has to have business values at the heart of it. It's about generating income in order to support the people that I really feel need to be supported. So it's making the kind of services that we offer available to mums who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford it, and doing that by balancing it out with generating income from those that can. And at the moment, we're at the very early stages of it. I mean, it's a project that started really as a passion project alongside my film work. So my background is really in working in film, and I have my own script consultancy. And that's where the bulk of my income comes from at the moment. Story of Mum was a kind of side project that was really about helping me to cope with this transition into motherhood as much as anything. It was a bit of an experiment, really. So it's really been about success in terms of Story of Mum has been, in a way, more about, am I learning? Am I experimenting? Am I trying something different and giving myself an opportunity of failing, which sounds quite bizarre as a definition of success. But it's kind of been a side play project. And what's happened for me that's different this year, so literally just in the last 3 months, is I'm continuing with my script consultancy work. But one of the projects that I'd set up as I entered motherhood was a big cross-channel film training project. And I left that literally in January this year so that I can start to really focus on Story of Mum and really build it into the social enterprise. So at the moment it's very early stages. It generates a small amount of income. It's not sustainable on its own terms as yet. Most of my income comes from my script consultancy work. And because it's been something that I've always done out of that spirit of generosity as a kind of gift to mums, as a way of offering everything for free, that's the interesting transition for me there. How do I shift from something that started off almost as an art project, as an experimental play space for me to connect with other mums, and which has kind of grown of its own accord without me really having a great intention of where it was going to go. It's literally been like, you know what I would really love to do? I would love to start hosting mums retreats. So I'll try the first one of those a couple of years ago. And each time I've tried something, I've learned from that and I've built the next thing. So then we've moved into trying our first kind of e-course experience. And then we've moved into creating our own do-it-yourself mums retreat kit. So it's kind of a lovely play space for me that I'm now looking at turning into something rising more income generating. And so a lot of that income is now coming from work with one-to-one clients. And that's something that, again, has just kind of grown through word of mouth. So it almost feels like the business has a life of its own beyond me.
I would absolutely agree with that, because I think businesses, what we need to understand as business owners is that businesses have an energy of their own. This is why a limited company is a separate legal entity as well, I think, in that they sometimes the business pulls you, and it's how your clients are responding to something that actually, as you say, might have just started as an idea. I had a similar experience earlier this year when I introduced a new product, and all of a sudden, you know, there was over 200 people signed up for it, and it had just started as an experiment from finding a piece of paper that I put an idea on and a sketch and outline of something a couple of years ago. And I think sometimes when you go with, when you allow your business to be led by your values and those decisions to be made based on a much more intuitive process than I guess the traditional 3-year or 5-year plan with lots of numbers. I'm not saying don't have that, but it is interesting that your experience is is that the things that you've done as experiments and done for the fun of it have actually been the things that have engaged the people that you work with.
Yeah, it's amazing. It feels like I'm in the flow of something and I'm just kind of going with it and seeing what, I mean, just to give you some examples. So I'm being in line with my values that I spoke about in my home life and in my work life. So yesterday, me and the kids, I had morning with them. So this is my balance, work in the afternoon, morning with them in the morning. And we just went down onto the local prom. I live in Penzance. There's a beautiful promenade here next to the sea. There were loads of stones washed up on the prom. And so we thought, oh no, we'll make some words out of the stones. And so there was a empty bench there, and out of stones we made a message to go next to it which said, sit here and think of someone you love. And then we went and hid and watched people coming and sit on the bench. And it was lovely. It was just a joyful experience, and we disappeared off and we came back later. But last night I popped it on Facebook with a few pictures, and it seems to be going viral. So just that thing that I went and did with my kids on my business Facebook page has now been shared numerous times, loads of comments, loads of feedback, generated lots more new likes for that Facebook page, and it's kind of a perfect example of that synergy. That was me doing something with my kids, but the impact is that's generated a great audience for my business.
And that's it, isn't it? It's measurement by impact, I think.
Yeah, well then, I mean, you can see there's clear impacts because you can see the number of likes increasing and all of that. But it fascinates me that we have this sense that we're these kind of two different people, somebody in work and somebody at home, and actually we're the same person going through all those experiences. And if in the morning we've had a complete nightmare with the kids or getting them out the door to school, that's going to change how we turn up in our business, however much we'd like it not to. So it's our responsibility to try and engender as much of a positive experience in our home life so that we can go into a business and be more productive, more positive, and it helps everywhere. You have happier kids and you have a more successful business.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pippa. And Susan, if I could just come to you, and for you, how do you find things emerge for you in terms of, as you change your definition of success, how does that show up in your business?
I'm at quite a similar place to Pippa, actually. I launched the business end of last year. First launch was a bit of a nightmare, and I had to change web developers quite quickly and what have you. But I started with no business plan whatsoever. I wanted to I had a really good feeling about what I wanted to do, but I hadn't put too many sort of boundaries around that. I just put it out there. I wanted to get feedback. I wanted to find out what people were coming to the site looking for, what they wanted, how I could help and support them. And the only way I could really find that out was to put it out there and to put the website up and to then, engage with the people that came to the site and find out what they were looking for. And, I've got a very varied background. I've worked in media, I've worked in event management. I'm an advanced NLP practitioner and a life coach. I've had a buy-to-let property business. So I've got a really mixed bag of skills. But more than anything, I've learned these really valuable life lessons about looking after yourself and, how important that side of it is. And that, for me, that's where I'm passionate. That's where my passion is really helping mums to get those things right. The other guys have brought up really interesting things like how important it is to get help, ask, get support, ask for help, set those work boundaries, all of those things that we need to put in place to make sure that, we can perform at our best and that we're in flow and we're happy and everything's working. So it was very much about put it out there, see what kind of feedback I get. I only started our Facebook group end of February, and I actually started that from feedback that I got from people who were posting stuff on the forum, on the website, but they were saying it would be really nice to just chat to other mums and just ask questions that we wouldn't probably put on a forum, on a website. So I started the Facebook group. We had 250 new people join in March, so that's growing really rapidly. I put a survey out to ask my members what's your biggest challenges at the moment? What are the things that you'd really like support with? and again, that feedback's been really, really helpful, you know, actually finding out what it is that mums need the most help with, you know, where their challenges are. And so I'm now working with some people to, like Pippa, I've got to start generating an income from this. At the moment, I haven't done that. Everything's been about just engaging and supporting and just getting people on board, building a community, building a really supportive community. But I'm now, you know, off of the back of the feedback that I've had and the things that I know that people are looking for, I'm working with some other people to set up some really great resources that people can use, so that it's a win-win for everybody. Everything I do, anybody I work with, you know, it's got to be kind of in line with the things that are really important to me, why I set this up in the first place, you know, what my values and everything else. And I'm also looking at offering some one-to-one coaching for mums that want somebody to just help them through that first 6 months, that, you know, that need that kind of support, to make sure that they really are looking after themselves and working in a way that works for them, and getting that balance right. So lots of opportunities, lots of things that I'm looking at, you know, a lot of exciting directions that I can take the business in, but always, you know, with my kind of blueprint of what I will and won't do, you know, how much time I will put into the business, you know, making sure I do have that time that's for me, for my family, away from it, times that I switch off. You know, Facebook groups are great, but, you know, they almost go 24 hours. I mean, it's crazy. You can just get absolutely lost in the bubble, and lose hours of your day. So it's just being really mindful of things like that, and just keep checking in, because I feel that if that's the message I'm giving to mums, if that's the way I'm helping and supporting them, then I've got to be doing it. I've got to be walking the walk and talking the talk. So, you know, I need to be living it myself to make sure that I can help other mums to do it too.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I think you do have to model the right behaviours. I've recently just ran a Facebook challenge group, and one of the things that I did there, because the first thing that goes into the planner is rest, as you'll see if you're on the Focus and Effectiveness webinar yesterday. One of the things that I did for them was say, do you know what, ladies, these are the office hours. This is when I'm going to be available each day to respond and to message you and to answer any personal questions that you've got. And just by putting that boundary and that containment, made it much easier to manage. And I think that's something, whilst we talk about balance and integration, one of the things actually paradoxically that's critical to that is having really clear boundaries.
Absolutely. And you know, I worked with somebody last year who, as soon as we agreed to work together, you know, she gave me this bit of paper, and they said exactly that. You know, these are the days I work, these are the hours I work. I don't work school holidays. I don't work weekends. You know, I turn off my emails at 6 p.m. or whatever it was. And I completely respected that. And I thought, wow, what a great, you know, start to the relationship, is that right from the beginning we've set this up, and it's so much healthier for everybody. And it's great to get that in place at the beginning, and to stick to it.
Expectation management, isn't it, all the way?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. And Gemma, if I could just come to you for your reflections.
Hi, yeah, I mean, I think it's going back to one of Pippa's points where she said you see yourself as two different people, so before you have the baby and then after. And I've found that massively from running journaling, you know, running around doing meetings, wearing high heels, and, you know, really living the life in London, to moving to the countryside, having a baby, and suddenly having to wear flat shoes. It's you know, it really does flip your world upside down. But I think what I've learned is just to be honest and be true to yourself, and you become a different person. You've got to learn who that is, and how you live in this new way. Running journaling, and what we do there is we help small businesses get into the media. So we give them a tool which enables them to manage their own PR. One of the things I say to the small businesses is, to get your message out there, be honest. What's your story? What's your, your background? How did you become an entrepreneur? And a lot of the time, they go back to the roots on, what the interesting fact is, why they started their company. And these are things that journalists find really, really interesting. And it's only been recently that I've worked out, actually, take your own advice. What's your story? What's your, your background? Why have you started this? And from all of that, it's made me realise that I want to be a career woman because I want to be successful of my own right, but also to be a good role model. I know we've spoken about this previously, but just to give my son the ambition and for him to see his mum out there working and juggling all the things that I do, and to give him the aspiration that he can do anything that he wants to do if he puts his mind to it. So I think it is just about working out, who you are, what your true story is, and who you are and what you want to be. And once you've done that, it's about putting small milestones in place and working through those. And then once you've done that, I think that you can actually start, just living your life as this new person, so that before baby and after baby is now someone that you're happy to be.
I think that's true. There's a real identity shift that happens, particularly when you've just had your first, and it's a perfect opportunity actually to really explore if you are doing things in a way that is congruent with how you want to be. And I think what you mentioned there about honesty and telling your story is absolutely key. I find with clients that I work with, they want to know about the background. They know I have children. We have a trusted relationship because many of them are in the same situation or hold the same values. And it's also the other thing that you've touched on that's so important is actually when we do have success, even those small wins, they're really worth celebrating.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think as well when you're honest with the people you work with as well, it's sometimes as if you have to hide something. If you're going to a meeting or you're making a telephone call, it's shh, I won't tell them I've got a baby and everything will be fine. Once you actually say, hey, I've got my little boy on my knee and he might start crying. If he does, I'll excuse myself and call you back. And that level of honesty really does help because people respect you. Your clients understand that you are who you are. This is the way that you work now, and they respect the way you work. So I think being honest really does help, and just being true to yourself. This is who you are now. You're a working mum, and you do everything for your children. But there is this level of, if you want to still be a career woman, there's no reason why you can't do it. But you have to just realise that you are a mum and the killer stilettos don't exist anymore, and you do have to wear sensible shoes, and you can still do the phone calls, but just be honest about it.
Well, Gemma, the trick is the killer stilettos can come out. You just have to get a taxi.
That's the trick, is it? Right. Okay, I know now. Brilliant. Thank you for that one.
But no, really good points. And I think, also, I know a lot of the focus has been on people running their own business as mothers here, but actually in corporate, it's possible too. I mean, I know I was sharing with you earlier when I went back after having my second daughter. One of my favourite memories from corporate is actually we were doing a really, really tough negotiation with a client, and one of the other side was a young father as well as me being a young mother. We both had babies under the age of 1, as well as older siblings, and it was one of those meetings that was going on, and we simply agreed that what, we were going to leave the business thing at the door, we were going to continue the negotiation, but we were going to take a time out for 15 minutes to phone our families and say goodnight to the children. Yes, it's not the same as being there, but sometimes you have to make these compromises, and it's not just mums that have to make these compromises, it's fathers too. So Jay, can we just come to you just for some closing observations, and then what I'd like to do is just go around each of the participants and just find out how our audience can get in touch with them to find out more.
Great, yeah. So again, from our point of view, Business Crowd has kind of been new to the market. We've been around for quite a while, but actually having the opportunity to put together a website and start growing our customer base, it's been over the last sort of 6 to 8 months. So the way we've seen success in our story is more about, at the very beginning, it was about just getting as many people as possible to know about us. The way it's evolved is it's got much more about the actual relationships that we can build with people and bringing communities together, and that's why this event was so important to us, and that's why, you know, at the end of this event we'd be asking ourselves, was this a success or not? At the moment I feel like it is a success, just because of the amount of people we've brought together and the reaction from it, which we're touching on a few points previously made about the social impacts and like the reaction you can measure from it. But again, yeah, it's all been really, really positive on our side. And the way we kind of see it evolving over the time is just increasing and improving those relationships between everyone, and really just helping out. I think my personal opinion of you know, what it means to be successful is just having something or creating something that can really change and help people, whether that's communities or whatever you define that as. But yeah, so from a whole grand scheme of Mums Mean Business, we're hoping to put this on a regular event, you know, like a yearly event, and maybe even and sort of get other communities involved as well, and start focusing down. Our platform at the moment is small business advice and support. But it's on a generic level, because obviously every business has generic general issues that they face, but we really want to start diving down into these more niche communities, as these communities have been kind of painted over with a brush of just small business. You know, these communities are all growing out to be really big, and we want to, you know, tell each story of each community and bring everyone together. So that's what we're really trying to do. But yeah, just on the points of what success means from everyone's point of view, it's the balance of the mindset and obviously and like business progression. So I think we've actually kind of done a really good job in defining it, which I didn't think we would be able to in this talk. Obviously, feel free to join in on the hashtag Mums Mean Business. There's a bunch more advice stuff coming out during the week. There's more discussions. And yeah, just to get in contact again through social channels. You know, we're on Twitter, on Facebook. Again, all the social channels, LinkedIn, Google+. So I'm sure if you type in Business Crowd or Mums Mean Business, you can find us. So that's our contact, so please get in touch.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Susan, how can people find out more about your work with the Business of Mums?
So we've got the website, which is thebusinessofmums.com. Facebook, Facebook page is Business of Mums, and we've got a Facebook group which you can get to from the Facebook page. So if they Google, search for Business of Mums on Facebook, they should be able to find it. And just very quickly, what Gemma said about being honest and true and telling your story. I last week literally was persuaded to put my story out there, because I hadn't really done that, and a lot of people, although they were coming to the site and connecting, they had no idea who I was or why I was doing this, and it was one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever done. I literally put my heart and soul onto paper and put it out there, and the response has just been amazing. I was up till 1 o'clock in the morning answering messages and emails from people just saying, oh my God, I completely can relate to your story, really resonates with me, really feel that can connect with you now. And so it's so true. People want to hear your story. People want to understand who you are and, you know, how you got to this point now, and then they can connect with you, then they can relate to you, and then suddenly you're connecting on a whole nother level.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I think the other thing is as well, it's so important for women in business who are maybe a couple of steps ahead of other women in business to be able to share those ups and downs and the real view of it, to encourage others to be able to, you know, overcome, I think, sometimes, because we all have challenges in life, but to be able to overcome them and to go on and to make a success of something, that's kind of what we're here to do, to share, inspire and model. And so your Twitter hashtag, Susan, can you just share that so people can follow you?
Business of Mums. Business of Mums.
Lovely. And if we just come now to Gemma. So Gemma, just to sum up, how is it best for people to reach you?
Best way to get in touch with us, we've got the website, so www.journolink.com. There's also all of our social handles, which is all just Journolink, so #Journolink, @Journolink, through Twitter, Facebook, etc. But I mean, and on our website there's a telephone number. Oh, and my little boy has just woken up, so if you hear that screaming, that's what it is. He wants to get involved.
Noise.
No, you won't be saying that at 3 in the morning. But yeah, on the website there is a telephone number as well. So if anyone does want to talk to us, then give us a call as well. So yeah, no, I look forward to hearing other mum stories as well. So we're here to help get those names out and the businesses into the media. So if anyone wants to take that angle, then we're here to help.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Gemma. And finally, Pippa, if we can just round off with you.
Oh, well, I just want to say what a pleasure it's been to connect with everyone on this call, and there's such a lovely synergy between what we're all saying to other working mums that are out there about the kind of importance of self-care and setting boundaries and letting go of perfectionism. And I love that we're ending on the value of sharing story, because that was really why I set up Story of Mum, clues in the title, because I was really wanting to hear from other mums who were struggling and know that I wasn't the only one that was finding it hard. And as you've all said, the value of understanding that this is normal, you know, things aren't easy, it isn't always straightforward, but that doesn't mean it isn't possible. It's just so important to hear that, isn't it? So our website, if people want to find us, it's storyofmum.com, and it's the same. The Twitter handle is @storyofmum. Facebook is /storyofmum. The only one that's different is Instagram, which is where I seem to like hanging out the most at the moment, which is /Pippa Story of Mum. And I also wanted to say that inspired by this week, we've also put a special offer out on our do-it-yourself retreat kit. So if anyone was wanting to host their own little retreat for themselves and their friends, to take that time out for mums, we've done a special Mums Mean Business discount code to get 50% off that. And if anyone wants to find that, that's at storyofmum.com/DIY.
Lovely, lovely. So we'll go and have a look for that and get that tweeted.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, all of you, for your wonderful contributions today. I know that there's many mums that will be inspired by this, as well as the live event. We will be making the recordings available as well. And it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you.